हेलो एवरीवन। आज की वीडियो में हम लास्ट प्रीवियस ईयर्स के PYQs को डिस्कस करेंगे उनके करेक्ट आंसर्स के साथ। ये वो क्वेश्चंस हैं जो प्रीवियस ईयर CBI के एग्ज़ाम्स में पूछे जा चुके हैं। जो पेपर अभी आपको आपके सामने दिख रहा है वो 2010 का पेपर है। वीडियो को एंड तक देखिए और अपनी नोटबुक को साथ में रखिए। लेट अस बिगिन विद द वीडियो। सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन आपको आपकी स्क्रीन पे नज़र आ रहा होगा। सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन है, अ कंप्लेंट वॉज रिसीव्ड बाय द गवर्नर ऑफ अ स्टेट दैट an ex-minister in the State Council of Ministers had illegally acquired assets disproportionate to the known sources of his income, and the complainant requested his permission to prosecute the ex-minister. On a reference from the governor to the CM of the state, an inquiry was held by the State Vigilance Department. After considering the report, the Council of Ministers advised the governor to refuse permission to prosecute the concerned ex-minister. Rejecting the advice of the Council of Ministers, the governor gives permission for the prosecution of the concerned ex-minister. With respect to this, which one of the following is the correct statement? Which one of the following is the correct statement? First option that has been provided to you is, the governor was bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers and therefore his decision to grant the permission for prosecution was incorrect. Option B, the governor was not bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers as he enjoys discretionary power in such a matter. The governor acted illegally by referring the matter to the Chief Minister. And option D, the governor had power to take the independent decision in the matters related to an ex-minister. These are the four options that are provided in the question. What would be the correct answer as per you? Here, the correct answer is the governor had the power to take the independent decision in the matter as it related to an ex-minister. Moving forward to the next question. Question number 2. In the interest of consumers, Parliament enacted a legislation imposing certain restrictions on the press including page, ceiling, price and advertisements. In order to avoid any challenge to the legislation under Part 3 of the Constitution, the legislation was included in the 9th Schedule of the Constitution. The legislation is Option 1, invalid because the press should be left on its own without any restriction. Option B, invalid because the matter relates to the subject which requires a state legislation. Option number 3, invalid despite its inclusion in the 9th Schedule as it violates the freedom of press, which is a basic feature of the Constitution of India. Option D, valid as it enjoys immunity under Article 31B of the Constitution of India. These are the four options. Here, the correct answer is option number C, invalid despite its inclusion in the 9th Schedule as it violates the freedom of press, which is a basic feature of the Constitution of India. Question number 3. Which of the following interpretations of Section 376B of the IPC did the Supreme Court of India hold in the case of Omkar Prasad Verma versus State of MP? Option A, the term custody implies guardianship and its meaning also included carekeeping, charge, imprisonment, judicial or penal safekeeping. Option B, the term custody is not a narrow but would mean any sort of control over a person. The term custody under IPC has the same meaning as under the Indian Evidence Act. Option D, the term custody is equivalent to the physical possession of tangible property. These are the four options. Here, the correct answer is option number A, The term custody implies guardianship and its meaning also included carekeeping, charge, imprisonment, judicial or penal safekeeping. Next question. In which one of the following cases did the Supreme Court hold that in appropriate cases, police officers have a duty to conduct a preliminary inquiry before registering an FIR in order to find out whether allegations made have any substance or not? कौन से केस में ये हेल्ड हुआ था? ऑप्शन नंबर ए, स्वामी श्रद्धानंद वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका. ऑप्शन बी, मयंकौर बलदेव सिंह सरदार वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ पंजाब. ऑप्शन सी, राजेंद्र सिंह कटोहे वर्सेस चंडीगढ़ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. Selvi and others versus State of Karnataka. This was held in Rajendra Singh Katto versus Chandigarh administration. Question number 5. Confessional statements are made by the conspirators after they were arrested, implicating other accused as co-conspirators. As regards admissibility of the statement, which one of the following is correct? Option A, the statement is admissible under Section 24 of the Indian Evidence Act. Option B, statement is hit by Article 20 Clause 3 of the Indian Constitution and hence inadmissible. Option C, the statement is inadmissible because common intention was no longer in existence as held in the Parliament attack case. Option D, statement is admissible under Article 19A of the Constitution. The correct answer is the statement is inadmissible because common intention was no longer in existence as held in the Parliament attack case. Question number 6. By which one of the following acts does Information Technology Act allow any subscriber to authenticate an electronic record? Option A, by affixing his digital signature or by reliable electronic signature or electronic authentication techniques. Option B, by using systematic cryptograph system. Option C, by attaching scanned copy of his signature done on paper. Option D, by making an endorsement at the bottom of the letter that it is authentic. Here, the correct answer is option number A, by affixing his digital signature or by reliable electronic signature or electronic authentication techniques. Question number 7. For the conduct of any inquiry or investigation into any offence committed by the employees of the central government of the level of Joint Secretary and above under the provisions of the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, the Delhi Special Police Establishment. Option A, must take prior approval of the central government. Option B, can initiate investigation itself. Option C, can investigate under the superintendence of the commission established under the Central Vigilance Commission Act 2003. Option D, must take prior approval of the director appointed under the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946. Here, the correct answer is option number A, that is, must take prior approval of the central government. Moving to the next question. Which among the following amounts to criminal misconduct by a public servant under the Prevention of Corruption Act? Option A, habitually abstaining from regular duty without permission of the superior. Option B, being in possession of pecuniary resources or property disproportionate to his own sources of income. Option C, negligently renders the government property to be damaged and destroyed. Select the correct answers using the codes given below. क्या सिर्फ पहली स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है? ऑप्शन बी 2 and 3 दोनों करेक्ट हैं. ऑप्शन सी सिर्फ सेकंड वाली करेक्ट है. ऑप्शन डी क्या तीनों करेक्ट हैं? यहाँ पर जो आपका करेक्ट आंसर है वो है ऑप्शन नंबर सी. ओनली द सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट. Question 9. Under which one of the following grounds can the Central Vigilance Commissioner be removed from his office? A. Proved misbehavior or incapacity. B. engaging in any paid employment outside the duties of his office. C. When adjudged and insolvent. D. On any all of the above charges. कौन से वो grounds हैं? Here the correct answer is option D. इनमें से किसी भी grounds पर. Question number 10. Which one of the following rights is not available to an accused or a delinquent person? Option A. To take the plea that he had already been punished for the same offence earlier. B. Refuse to give specimen signature and sample of handwriting. C. 2. Plead that he was not guilty as on the date of committing the alleged crime, the act was not a punishable offence. D. To refuse to take part in singing national anthem on the ground that his religion did not permit it. यहाँ पे correct answer है to refuse to give specimen signature and sample of handwriting. Next question. The Parliament has no power to make law on A. Audits of accounts of the Union and of the state. B. Taxes on advertisements published in newspaper. C. Prevention of cruelty to animals. D. Duties of excise on opium. Here, the correct answer is option number B. X instigates Y to murder Z. Y refuses to do so. X is guilty of abetting Y to commit murder. B. Attempt to commit murder. C. Criminal conspiracy. Or D. That it is not an offence. Here the correct answer is abetting Y to commit murder. Question number 13. When an accused person is pardoned under section 306 of the CRPC, he, option A, becomes a witness for the prosecution. B. Becomes an ordinary witness. C. Should be examined as a witness first in the trial court. Or D. Becomes a witness for the defense. In this question, the correct answer is option number A. Becomes a witness for the prosecution. Question number 14. In which one of the following cases was the constitutional validity of section number 27 of the Indian Evidence Act upheld? State of UP versus Dioman Upadhyay, Bodhraj versus State of J&K, Muhammad Inayatullah versus State of Maharashtra, Shambhulal Dayal versus Subhash Chandra. Correct answer is option A. Next question. Under the IT Act, when is an electronic record attributed to the originator? When it is sent by the originator himself. When the information system programmed by the originator sends electronic record automatically. When the electronic record is sent by a person who had authority to act on behalf of the originator. Select the correct answers using the code given below. कौन सी statements इनमें से correct हैं? 1 and 2 only, 1 only, 3 only, or all of the statements are correct. In this question, all of the statements are correct. The superintendents of the Delhi Special Police Establishment relating to the investigation of offences committed under the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 shall vest in the Central Vigilance Commission, Director appointed under the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946, Central Government, or the Inspector General of Police appointed under the Police Act 1861. The correct answer is option number A. When can the court take cognizance of the offences punishable under the Prevention of Corruption Act? With the previous sanction of the central or the state government, upon complaint by an aggrieved person, CO moto, or on a complaint by Lokayukta of any state. This is done with the previous sanction of the central or the state government. Next question. Which one of the following statements is correct? The alibi under section 11 of the Indian Evidence Act 1872 is decided on the basis of preponderance of probability, B. Probability beyond all reasonable doubt, C. Possibility beyond all reasonable doubt, or D. Improbability as well as beyond all reasonable doubt. Here the correct answer is A. Probability. Consider the following. By notification issued by the central government, seats were directed to be reserved in central government's educational institutions for various categories of candidates. Thus, scheduled castes 15%, scheduled tribes 7.5%, OBC 27%, physically challenged persons 3%, sports 5%, and children and wards of armed forces personnel 5%. In relation to the above, which one of the following statements is correct? A. The reservations are unconstitutional since no law was passed by the Parliament to grant the reservation. Or the reservations are invalid as the total reservation exceeds 50%. Or the reservations are valid under Article 15 Clause 1 read with 15 Clause 4 and 5 of the Constitution. Or both statements A and B above are correct. The correct answer is option B. Reservations are invalid. Next question. 5 civil servants were dismissed from service without any inquiry and hearing for their conduct of assaulting their boss at the railway station immediately after his retirement. The reasons for dismissal, including impracticability of holding the inquiry, were duly recorded. It was proved that the assault took place in a planned manner. All of them were arrested and prosecuted for assaulting the boss, but later on acquitted by the criminal court. In this respect, which one of the following is correct? A. Dismissal without inquiry and hearing is not valid. Or dismissal for misconduct is invalid since the civil servants had been acquitted by the criminal court for the same conduct. C. Dismissal is valid in the totality of the facts and circumstances stated above. The dismissal is valid under the pleasure doctrine. The correct answer is option number A. Which one of the following are included as cruelty under section 498A of the IPC? Willful conduct likely to drive the women to commit suicide, willful conduct likely to cause grave injury to life, limb or health of the women, harassment with a view to coerce her to meet any unlawful demand of dowry. Select the correct answer using the code given below. क्या तीनों स्टेटमेंट्स करेक्ट हैं या फिर 1 and 3 ही करेक्ट है, 2 and 3 ओनली और 1 and 2 ओनली? यहाँ पर तीनों स्टेटमेंट्स करेक्ट हैं. In the case of Inder Mohan Goswami and another versus State of Uttaranchal and others, Supreme Court held that non-bailable warrant should be issued only when summons or bailable warrants would be unlikely to have the desired result of bringing a person to court, or liberally issued to ensure speedy justice, or used only in offences against the human body, or declared as unconstitutional. Here the correct answer is option number A. A statement to become relevant under section 32 clause 1 of the Indian Evidence Act as signed declaration should have been made under which one of the following circumstances? A. It should have been made in relation to the succession of his property after his death. B. It should have been made under imminent expectation of death. C. It should be in relation to the cause of his death or circumstance of the transaction that resulted in his death. D. It should have been made in the will executed by him. Here the correct answer is option number C. What do you understand by key pair under the Information Technology Act? A. It is a public key having both symmetric and symmetric crypto features. B. It is a private key having both symmetric and asymmetric crypto features. C. It is a private key and its mathematically related public key. D. It is an electronic key in the form of 2 passwords. The correct answer is option number C. Next question. The offences punishable under the Prevention of Corruption Act can be tried by the Court of Magistrate established under CRPC, or a special judge appointed under the Act. C. a chief metropolitan magistrate only, or the district magistrate? Here the correct answer is option number B. The committee recommending the appointment of the Central Vigilance Commissioner should consist of A. Prime Minister and the Union Home Minister, B. Prime Minister, Union Home Minister and the Leader of Opposition in the House of the People, C. CJI and 5 other senior judges of the Supreme Court nominated by him, the PM, the Leader of the Opposition in both the Houses of the Parliament and the Union Law Minister. Here the correct answer is option number B. Which one of the following statements is correct? This is the next question. No person can be subjected to narco-analysis test against his or her wishes. B. The High Courts cannot issue writs to private person. C. State legislature can prescribe punishments for offences under Part 3 of the Constitution of India. D. All India services can be created according to Article 312 as well as Article 320 of the Constitution. So the correct statement here is option number A. The Supreme Court, next question. The Supreme Court in a PIL issued directions to the central government to give statutory status to an organization. Central government failed to give effect to the said directions of the court. The petitioner filed a contempt petition before the Supreme Court. In respect to the above, which one of the following is correct? Central government is guilty of contempt of court for its inability to give the effect to the direction. Central government is not guilty of committing any attempt of court as the directions issued by the court were beyond its jurisdiction, as the making of law by Parliament was a matter of its discretion. C. Central government is not guilty of committing any contempt as the directions were violative of separation of power theory. Or option D. Both the statements B and C together describe the law correctly. The correct answer is option number D. In the crime of adultery, the wife is punishable as a co-accused, punishable as an abettor, not punishable, or punishable as an accomplice. She is not punishable. In the context of Section 378 Clause 4 of the CRPC, Karnataka High Court in Sarojamma Huchegondar versus Eshwarappa held that the right under the provision is a personal right and can be exercised only by the complainant and not by her legal representatives. B. Under the provision is not a personal right and can be exercised by the LRs. C. Can be exercised only to clear the name of the accused person, or can be delegated. Here the correct answer is option number A. Next question. Evidences are adduced by the parties to the suit about the character. As per the provisions of the Indian Evidence Act, which of the following are correct? Evidence of the character in civil proceedings is irrelevant and inadmissible generally. The character evidence is admissible if it affects the amount of damages which he ought to receive. The character evidence is admissible insofar as much character appears from facts otherwise relevant. Select the correct answer using the code given below. कौन सी statements correct हैं? 1 only, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, और 1, 2, 3. हमें ये देखना है कि कौन सी statement correct है. So यहाँ पर सिर्फ 1 और 2 correct हैं. What does identity theft for which punishment is provided under the IT Act mean? Removing movable or tangible computer parts out of the possession of the owner. Fraudulently and dishonestly making use of the electronic signature, password or other unique identification of other persons. Signing of a document by an unauthorized person. Falsely representing before certifying authority as authorized person. Correct answer is option number B. Question number 33. Consider the following statements regarding the appointment of a director under the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. The committee appointing a director shall consist of the Central Vigilance Commissioner as its chairperson. Committee shall recommend a panel of officers on the basis of seniority, integrity and experience in the investigation of anti-corruption cases. The director shall hold office for a period of 5 years. कौन सी स्टेटमेंट्स इनमें से करेक्ट हैं? 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 only, 2 only and 1 and 3 only. यहाँ पर सिर्फ 1 and 2 ही करेक्ट है. In a charge for the offence of taking gratification by public servant under the Prevention of Corruption Act, court shall presume that he accept or obtain that gratification as a motive or reward for doing or forbearing from doing any official act. Prosecution will be having the burden of proving the fact of accepting the gratification as well as the fact that it was received as a motive or reward for doing or forbearing from doing any official act. The court may presume that the public servant in fact obtained gratification and also presume that it was obtained as a motive or reward for doing or forbearing from doing any official act. The court should presume that accused is innocent and did not receive any gratification as a motive or reward. Option number B. Next question. The Central Vigilance Commission does not have the power of supervising the investigation of offences by the Delhi Special Police Establishment, or does not have the power to review the progress of investigation of offences by the Delhi Special Police Establishment, does not have the power to direct the Delhi Special Police Establishment to conduct its investigation in a particular manner, has the power to direct the Delhi Special Police Establishment to conduct its investigation in a particular manner. Does not have the power. State government granted licenses to certain private operators to run stage carriages and contract carriages. The stage carriages could run only on from one fixed point to another with fixed passengers without any right to pick up passengers en route. No such restrictions were imposed on contract carriages that were required to pay higher rates of tax than stage carriage operators. Contract carriage operators challenged the discriminatory nature of tax imposed on them. In respect of the above, which one of the following is correct? The tax on contract carriages is discriminatory and therefore unconstitutional. The tax is valid as there is reasonable classification between the stage carriages and contract carriages in view of the facts stated above. This is the correct answer. Option number B. Then there is next question. In which one of the following cases A and B be held guilty of criminal conspiracy even if no act is done by them? A and B agree to do an act that is prohibited by law. A and B agree to commit an offence. A and B agree to do an act which furnishes grounds for civil action. Or A and B agree to do an unlawful act. In option number B, correct answer is option number B. Supreme Court in the case of Navjot Singh Sidhu held that A conviction cannot be suspended under section 389 of the CRPC. B. A sentence cannot be suspended using 389 of the CRPC. A conviction can be suspended using 389 of the CRPC, but the petitioner needs to specifically draw the attention of the court to the consequences that may arise if the conviction is not suspended. Only a sentence can be suspended using section 389 of the CRPC, but the petitioner needs to specifically draw the attention of the court to the consequences that may arise if the sentence is not suspended. Option number D. Supreme Court in Selvi and others versus State of Karnataka held compulsory administration of narco-analysis technique amounts to generation of relevant and admissible evidence to prevent crimes effectively, testimonial compulsion and thereby triggers the protection under Article 20 Clause 3, C. Admissible confession statement under Indian Evidence Act, or D. Violates the rights guaranteed under Article 19 of the Constitution. Option B is correct. Under the IT Act, intermediary is not liable for any third-party information if its function is limited to providing access to the communication system. Intermediary is not liable if it does not initiate the transmission, does not select receiver, and does not select information. Intermediary is not liable if he aids or induces the third party to commit an unlawful act. Which of the following statements are correct? Only statements 1 and 2 are correct. Next question. Which of the following are correct under the provisions of Prevention of Corruption Act pertaining to calling an accused as a competent witness. He can be called as witness at his own request. His failure to give evidence will not give rise to any presumption against him. He can be called as witness only when he is on bail. हमें बताना है कि इसमें से करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट कौन सी है. 1 and 2 are correct. Which of the following statements are correct? President shall cause the report of Central Vigilance Commission to be laid before each House of Parliament. Central Vigilance Commission is duty bound to present to the President a report as to the work done annually. Which of the following statements is correct? Both 1 and 2 are correct. Then there is question number 43. Under Article 74 of the Constitution, there shall be a Council of Ministers to aid and advise the President, who shall act in accordance with such advice. In which one of the following cases, President is not bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers? Dismissal of a civil servant in the interest of security of state. Dismissal of a state government for failure of constitutional machinery in the state. Promulgation of ordinance when both houses of parliament are not in session, while deciding a question regarding the disqualification of a member of the parliament. The correct answer is option number D. A with a certain criminal intention abets B to commit an offence. B commits the said offence but with a different guilty mind. Which one of the following is correct legal position? A guilty नहीं है. A's liability will depend upon the circumstances of the case. A is liable as an abettor. A is guilty only if B is held guilty. A is liable as an abettor. If an accused pleads guilty, the judge still has no discretion to convict him, still has the discretion to convict him, has the discretion to convict him after recording his plea, or D, has the discretion to convict him depending upon the corroboration of evidence. Option number D. Under the Indian Evidence Act, which one of the following is correct? A confession made to the police officer is relevant and admissible completely. Wife can be compelled by the court in any suit or proceedings to disclose all communication made to her by her husband. Judge has the power to ask any questions to the parties, witnesses, or any fact relevant to the case. Police officer can be compelled to disclose the source of his information and the person who gave him information about the commission of the offence. Option number C. Question number 47. In cases where a document proved to be 30 years old is produced from proper custody, which one of the following presumptions the court will make? Court may make an irrebuttable presumption that the contents of the document is true. The court shall presume that the person who had the custody of document is the executor of the document. The court may presume that the signature and handwriting is the signature and handwriting of the person to be and was duly executed and attested. The court shall not make any presumption as to the validity or its execution. The correct answer is option number C. IT Act has been given overriding effect on other laws in 4 except the rights of any person under the Copyright Act or the Patents Act, rights of any person under the Prevention of Corruption Act, law governing the geographical indications, or rights under the Negotiable Instruments Act. The rights under the Negotiable Instruments Act. Consider the following statements regarding the provisions of Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946. The Special Police Force established under the Act is empowered to investigate all offences under the Police Act 1861. The Special Police Force is a separate and independent body from that created under the Police Act 1861. Which of the following statement is correct? Neither 1 or 2 are correct. Question number 50. The Principal Secretary purchasing a house for a meagre amount from one of the parties to a proceeding that was disposed by him in favour of that party can be tried under both Section 8 and 12 of the Prevention of Corruption Act, Section 9 of the CVC Act, Section 12 of the Prevention of Corruption Act, or Section 5 of the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. Correct answer is option number C. Under the CVC Act 2003, the President may order the removal of a Vigilance Commissioner if she or he is unfit by reason of infirmity of body, has been convicted of an offence involving moral turpitude, engages in any unpaid employment outside the duties of his office, is unfit by reason of infirmity of mind. कौन सी स्टेटमेंट्स इनमें से करेक्ट हैं? ओनली 1, 2 and 4. A state legislature passed an act banning the use of loudspeakers within 100 meters of educational institutions and also between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Validity of the legislation is challenged on several grounds. Which one of the following correctly states the law? The act is invalid as it is relatable to entry 31 of the list. The act is valid as it is relatable to entry 1 and entry 6 of list 2. The act is valid as the same would be enacted altering receiving numerous complaints from the educational institutions and resident welfare associations. The act is invalid as it violates the freedom of trade and freedom of speech and expression. The correct answer is option number B. Next question, question number 53. With regard to the fundamental rights, which one of the following is not correct? A fundamental right cannot be curtailed by an ordinance. The fundamental rights are not uniformly available to all persons. No restrictions on the right of freedom can be imposed by an executive order. Or option D. The fundamental rights are subject to a parliamentary legislation passed to give effect to a directive principle of the state policy. The correct answer here is option number D. In which one of the following cases the right of private offence to the extent of causing death is available? A was making an attempt to kill B when one of A's friends killed A. A was scolding B in most vulgar and filthy language on a public road, in consequence of which B killed A. A was stealing brinjals from the orchard of B. When B approached him, he tired to run away. B chased and shot A dead. D. B killed A when A was beating B's cow. Here the correct answer is option number A. In which one of the following circumstances the court will not allow oral agreement to be given in evidence for the purpose of varying, contradicting, adding to or subtracting from the terms of contract proved by the production of the document as per the provisions of Indian Evidence Act? Where there exists a separate oral agreement as to any matter on which the document is silent, or where there exists any separate oral agreement constituting a condition precedent to attaching of any obligation under any such contract, when there exists any distinct subsequent oral agreement to rescind or modify any such contract, when there is an oral agreement which seeks to the clarity the terms of contract that are unambiguous. Correct answer is option number D. Where a person causes or is likely to cause death or damage to or destruction of property by denying access to any person who is authorized to access computer, resource, or introducing or causing to introduce any computer contamination with the intention of threatening integrity or sovereignty of India or to strike terror in India is punishable under the IT Act as hacking of computer. It is punishable as hacking of computer. Under the Prevention of Corruption Act, the special judge who takes cognizance of the offence is empowered to tender pardon to any person who is directly or indirectly connected with the offence for obtaining the evidence about the offence. B. Empowered only to direct any person who is directly or indirectly connected with the offence to approach the High Court for obtaining pardon. Not empowered to tender pardon to any person who is directly or indirectly connected with the offence unless the accused consents. Under the obligation to obtain the previous approval of the government for tender of pardon to any person who is directly or indirectly connected with the offence. The correct answer is option number A. In which one of the following matters Central Vigilance Commission shall be consulted? In making rules governing vigilance matters of public service of the Union, in making rules governing disciplinary matters of all India services, in making regulations governing vigilance matters of all India services. Select the correct answer using the code below. Statement 2 and 3 are correct. A. public-spirited person sends a letter to the Chief Justice of India complaining that a large number of workers employed in factories are not being provided with minimum wages and basic amenities required to be provided under the Factories Act 1948. The letter be treated as a writ petition under Article 32 of the Constitution. No, as the concerned citizen is not an aggrieved person to have locus standi in the matter. No, because the letter cannot be substitute for a writ petition. Yes, because the citizen is an advocate. Yes, because the cause of poor persons is being espoused and there is no ulterior motive in writing the letter. So, option number D. The policemen in a state formed one association with members representing all cadres. The government amended the rules allowing the formation of association with members belonging to only one order for each association. The members challenged the validity of the amended rules. With regard to the above, which one of the following statement is correct? The amended rule is invalid as it takes away the fundamental rights of the policeman under Article 19 Clause 1C. The amended rule is invalid as the policemen were not consulted before the rules were amended. The amended rule is valid as it imposes a reasonable restriction on the rights conferred by Article 19(1)(c). The amended rules are valid as the policemen have no right to form associations. The correct answer is option number C. Question number 61. A surgeon in good faith communicates to a patient his opinion that he cannot live. Patient dies in consequence of the shock. A is guilty of murder, culpable homicide not amounting to murder, causing death by rash or negligent act, or no offence. He has done no offence. Which one of the following facts is not relevant under the Indian Evidence Act? Where accused was charged for the murder of X, the fact that accused was in the habit of shooting people? Where accused was charged for receiving stolen property, the fact that he was in possession of many other stolen articles? Where a person is sued for damage done by his dog to the plaintiff which the person knew to be ferocious, the fact that dog had previously bitten other and they had made complaints. Where a person was accused for murder in Delhi, the fact that he was in New York on the day of the alleged murder. Correct answer is option number A. Which one of the following statements is correct with regard to admissibility and relevancy of evidence? An admissible fact is always a relevant fact. A relevant fact is always an admissible fact. A relevant fact is considered by the court as a material fact, but judgment is not based on it. An admissible fact is a stage where the court, taking any relevant fact on the record of a case, decides any right or liability and bases its judgment on it. The correct answer is option number A. The IT Act provides for all offences under the Act are compoundable. Offences other than those punishable for a term exceeding 3 years other than those against child or women are compoundable. Offences other than those committed against a company or corporation are compoundable. None of the offences under this Act are compoundable. Correct answer is option number B. Consider the following statements relating to the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. The committee responsible for appointing a director also recommends officers for appointment to the post of superintendents of police. The committee does not have the power to recommend the extension or curtailment of the tenure of the superintendent of police. The recommendation for appointment to the post of SP shall be made in consultation with the director appointed under the Act. The recommendations of the above committee are required to be sent to the central government for a final decision. Which of the statements are correct? 1, 3 and 4 are correct. Which one of the following is correct under the provisions of the Prevention of Corruption Act? Where the previous sanction of the central government or the state government is required before the court takes cognizance of the offences, the finding, the sentence or order passed by the special judge can be reserved, or the proceedings before special judge can be stayed if the error or omission or irregularity has resulted in the failure of justice. The correct answer is option number C. The correct option is option number C. Upon acquittal, a co-accused can be witness for the prosecution only, witness for the defense only, a witness for the prosecution as well as for the defense, or an informal witness. Option number C is correct. The Association of Policemen was recognized by the state government with the condition that the association will not take recourse to agitational methods to get their demands fulfilled. Shortly after recognition, the association started agitation with a view to force the government to accept their demands. State government cancelled the recognition. The policemen became aggrieved by this action and started destroying public and private properties on a large scale. The policemen were dismissed without any inquiry or hearing. Dismissal is challenged by the policemen on the ground that the rules of natural justice had been violated. With regard to the above, which one of the following statements is correct? The dismissal is valid as the protection available to the civil servants under Article 311 Clause 2 cannot be applied in cases such as this one. Dismissal is valid as the condition of recognition of the association had been violated by the policemen. Dismissal is invalid as the allegations had not been proved. Dismissal is invalid as the rights of policemen under Article 19 Clause 1 had been violated. The correct answer is option number A. Central government issued 2 notifications liberalizing pensionary benefits to civil servants and members of the armed forces, retiring on or after the prescribed dates. The validity of the notification is challenged on the ground that they are violative of Article 14. कौन सी statement correct है? Central government has the power to prescribe any date for liberalizing the pensionary benefits and therefore the notifications are valid. The notifications are valid as they rightly make a difference between the civil servant and the members of the armed forces. Or the notifications are invalid as there is no nexus between the prescribed date and the purpose, or it is invalid because of the classification between the civil servants and the members of the armed forces is illogical. The correct answer is option number B. A, an officer of a court of justice being ordered by that court to arrest Y, and after the inquiry believing Z to be Y arrests Z. A is guilty of. He is guilty of no offence. What are the offences that are considered as cognizable and bailable under the IT Act? Offences punishable with 3 years and above, and offence punishable with imprisonment of 3 years respectively, or the offences punishable with 7 years and offence punishable with imprisonment of 1 year respectively. All offences and offences punishable with imprisonment of 6 months respectively. All offences are cognizable and bailable. All offences are cognizable and bailable. The central government is empowered under the IT Act to authorize any agency to monitor the traffic data or information generated, transmitted, received, or stored in any computer resource when it is satisfied that it is necessary. In the interest of sovereignty or integrity of India, defense of India, security of state, friendly relations with foreign state. To enhance the cyber security and for identification, analysis and prevention of intrusion or spread of computer contaminant in the country. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Who among the following are punishable under the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988? A public servant attempt to obtain gratification, a public servant obtaining gratification, a public servant agreeing to accept gratification, a person expecting to be a public servant accepting gratification. All of the statements are punishable. Which one of the following statement is correct? A dying declaration made under Section 32 of the Evidence Act is subject to the control of Section 54 of the Indian Evidence Act, 158, or Section 16 and 162 of the CRPC, or Section 164 of the CRPC. Option number B. The government imposes a ban on television channels broadcasting news, scenes, and stories of communal rights. The ban is challenged. Which one of the following is correct? The ban is invalid as no hearing was given to the television channel before imposing it. The ban is invalid as it violates the freedom of trade and business. The ban is valid as the government has absolute power. The ban is valid as the restriction is saved by Article 19 Clause 2. Option number D is correct. Which one of the following statements are correct? All evidence taken in the course of trial or other proceedings must be taken in the presence of accused and his pleader of the accused when the attendance of the accused is dispensed with, accused except as otherwise provided under CRPC. 4 only. Only statement number 4 is correct. Under the IT Act, which of the following is true? The controller is bound to impose penalty prescribed by the Act in case of all contravention. The controller can compound any contravention either before or after the institution of adjudication proceedings. The controller will have to seek the permission of the central government for compounding any contravention, or the controller cannot compound any contraventions. The answer is B. Which of the following is not a public servant under the Prevention of Corruption Act? A person in the service of local authority, vice chancellor of a university, a person in service of a body aided by the government, a contractor having a contract with the government and paid on commission basis. Option number D. Which of the following statements regarding the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act are correct? Central government is empowered to extend to any area in a state that powers and jurisdiction of the special police force established under the Act for the purpose of investigation of any offence notified therein. The special police force established under the Act cannot investigate the offences committed under the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. हमें बताना है कि कौन सी स्टेटमेंट सही है. सिर्फ फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट सही है. Question number 80. Which of the following are not correct? The CVC can tender a service advice to government company controlled by the central government, society controlled by the central government, local authority controlled by a state government, society controlled by a state government. Sirf 1 or 2. Only 1 and 2. The doctrine of estoppel is applied only in civil matters, only in criminal matters, both, or only when there are violation of principles of natural justice. It applies only in civil matters. A digital signature certificate issued by a certifying authority can never be revoked, can be revoked if the subscriber makes a request. Under Section 2 of the Prevention of Corruption Act, election means any election for selecting the members of Parliament, any legislature, local authority, societies registered under the Societies Act. 1, 2 and 3. A person is arrested for having committed a crime. Which one of the following is not his right? To know the grounds of his arrest, to get the services of his lawyer, to approach the court for a writ of petition for habeas corpus, to approach the court for a writ of mandamus. So, C is not his right. Admissions under the Indian Evidence Act. Admissions under the Indian Evidence Act must be, they can be either oral or they can be in writing. Under CRPC, the court is empowered to summon any person as a witness only at the stage of inquiry and trial, only at the stage of trial, only at the stage of inquiry or other proceeding, at any stage of inquiry, trial or other proceedings. At any stage. Consider the following statements. The members of the DSPE can exercise the powers and jurisdiction under the Act in any state of India except J&K. For exercising the powers conferred to them under the DSPE Act outside the state of Delhi, prior consent of the government of the concerned state is essential. So, second statement ही सिर्फ correct है. Under the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, the power to appoint special judge has been bestowed on central government, state government, Chief Justice of India or both central and the state government. दोनों को है. Statutory body arbitrarily terminated the services of an employee without hearing and notice. What is the best remedy for the employee? He has the remedy of making representation to the statutory body. He can file a civil suit, he can file a writ petition, or he can approach the administrative tribunal for relief. He can approach the tribunal. कौन सी statement इनमें से correct नहीं है? The president's rule in a state can be imposed only after receipt of the report of the governor, even without receipt of the report of the governor, on the recommendations of the Council of Ministers, or even when the governor in his report has stated that the constitutional machinery in the state had not failed. Option number B. Which of the following statements are correct? Under the IT Act, appellant can make a legal representation in person